Hello everybody, I hope that you're all doing well. We are here with a timeless reading. Before we get started, let's set the intention for this to be a space where everyone allows themselves to feel seen and validated, and ultimately for this to be a safe space and a healing space in alignment with everyone's highest good. Okay, so I'm seeing that there's something that you're navigating here with. There's also a balancing that I'm seeing that's happening too. I'm hearing that this is an internal structure. This is going to be something that you'll end up seeing reflected outwardly, as usual. So just from a collective standpoint, at this point in time, presently, I have been seeing the Nine of Swords and similar energies that have been popping up, which I'm hearing in the populace, which right now, okay, so this is the Nine of Swords, traditionally speaking, okay? And it can be all of the different things, like I'm worried about this, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, this is why I can't sleep at night, this is what I can't stop thinking about. It's all of the things that can create like further pressure and condense you and depress you. It can be all the things that you fear, all the things that you're worried about, stuff that doesn't allow you to feel. It can feel even like you're trapped inside your head. Collectively, this is definitely an energy that's been coming through lately. But I say this with a sense of hope because we need to collectively, individually, and also it's going to have, I'm hearing a collective correspondence. Individually, currently, we are facing some very big challenges mentally, but to have it be a 9 and have it be so close to the 10, this means that there is going to be liberation. I'm hearing moksha. That does mean it's the path to liberation. So this is something that thoughts may feel very intense right now. Fears may be very intense. Anxieties may be feeling very intense right now. But it always has to get to that limit of, I don't even think that I can take this anymore. Like I'm at my capacity for the cycle to be renewed. So this is very important and it's something not to be shied away from. As much as it can be challenging at times to see the Nine of Swords and be like, why is this coming up? Like we have to talk about this again. It's so very important. It's just as important as the Ten of Cups would be to speak about. So this is something that is relative to what's happening currently. There can be something that you're worried about when it comes to your stability. There can be a relationship that you have in mind. It could be multiple relationships. It can also be this feeling of, I know something isn't completely balanced. I know something isn't completely in alignment. And so these things that are popping up for me are actually messages telling me how to get into alignment, so I can feel comfortable in a way that I may not be feeling right now. Because you can tell that there's a lack of harmony, and that's why it's so important and beneficial. Because otherwise, if you weren't having these feelings, how would you know? There would be nothing else indicating it. So it's like your own system that is telling you that something is awry. And it gives you the opportunity, through analyzing why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, to be able to course correct. So that's why it's so valuable, even though it can be difficult. But we learn in the polarity. And so we learn from the moments that feel very happy, like, ooh, I like this. And then the moments that feel the opposite from that, we learn in those moments as well, because it's like, oh, I don't like this. And so both circumstances teach us, and that's why it's so important to pay attention to the messages, because they're not there for no reason. They all carry purpose with them. Your emotions are guides for you. Your feelings, your thoughts, all guides for you. And you get to assign the meaning that you want to it as well. Okay, so this can also be a restlessness as well that you feel. So there can be even this resistance to maybe coming to terms with something that is conflicted with your, I don't want to say higher path, like it's a better way for you to be doing things, because all paths are going to lead to the same place at the end of the day. But I'm definitely getting a resistance here to something. So, Nine of Swords can be having a hard time coming to terms with something mentally and being like, oh, I don't even want to face this at this point. Five of Wands is duality. Five of Wands is conflict that we feel. And this can also be, I see mainly, especially as it's been popping up lately, the Five of Wands, even though it can be interpreted in many other ways, just for this reading relatively here. Five of Wands can be, I'm hearing separation. It's, Five of Wands basically comes up when our desire is one thing that is conflicting with reality and how it actually is. So it can be like, I want this person to be this way, but they're actually like this. I want this situation to turn out this way, but it's actually turning out like that. I want to be able to stay in this place, but it's actually being indicated that I'm being moved at this point into something else. So there are these two things that need to be harmonized with one another. But it can be something at this point where you're like, I don't want to deal with this. But it's coming through in a way where there's a distressed feeling at this point. This is shadow work that you're doing. This is not easy. It's not easy. But it may be confusing things for you at this point because you're like, there are things I want to manifest in my life, but first, alignment needs to be set into play. Because if you are out of alignment and trying to manifest, it's going to keep creating these like distorted situations, and you're like, this isn't what I was trying to manifest, but it's because you're not in alignment. Because something needs to be course corrected here. It's why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. But you may not, this resistance may not be something that feels obvious to you at this point, because I'm seeing the Hanged Man here. So this can be something before that your guides were like, hey, do you want to take the opportunity to do this? And you were like, nah, I'm good. And maybe you thought that it was something minute, something non-significant, but there may be something here that you're reevaluating. That before you were like, I'm good with my perspective on this. I don't want to adopt a new one. And now there's something that needs to be surrendered. But this can be something that you didn't want to get involved with before, because there can also be a heaviness in addressing this as well. But the only way out is through. I'm seeing something that it's going to take time. It's going to take energy to sit with this and to reflect on this in order to allow it to reveal itself to you. This can be through reflection, it can be through meditation, it can be through play as well. It's going to take like a relaxing of the mind, because basically your ego is going to pop up in your head and like thought block you. And it's not going to, especially if this is like something that's been pushed down, it's going to take a bit for it to come back up, and you sort of have to coax it by relaxing into it, and that's how it's going to come up for you. I'm hearing into a more contemporary space. Patience. This is going to take investing in to understand fully. There's a lot here that's being detangled. Okay, also too, you want to make sure in every moment In every moment, you want to ask yourself, if I invest in this, if I put my energy into this, what does that mean it's culminating with? How is that culminating within my life? What does that mean it's manifesting? Because there can be a part of you that there is something here that's going to be a bit of a process. But in you investing in this deeper understanding of yourself and allowing yourself to release what is no longer necessary is going to give you the ability to lay down the groundwork needed at this point. It also feels like this is connected with your heart in a very big way. But maybe something that wasn't being honored for some reason, which is okay. Also, it's just the place that you'd been in. And it's all for purpose too. None of your experience is ever wasted. None of your choices, none of your decisions are ever wasted. They all carry meaning with them and significance. I'm seeing a daisy here. I'm seeing something that is like you wouldn't have noticed it had you not been in a space of observation, but I'm seeing even something that you realize could have been even in a bit of a hidden space. The word cranial is coming through. I'm definitely getting some feelings of activation here. Like you could even feel it on like one side of your body. I'm definitely feeling some energy moving through the right side. Okay. So there can be a reevaluation of basically what you've been investing your energy into. Energy falls into many other like miniature categories as well. Energy is kind of like the umbrella. So it can be your time, it can be your money, it can be your attention. Many different things that this can branch out into. You want to make sure that you're investing in things that you feel like are aligned with your values and are worth it to you to be investing in. Let's just use a very simple example, because this is a more like commonly understood situation. Let's say you have a job and you go and you do that job and you feel like you're not being compensated properly. That is going to continue to depress your energy because you're like, I don't feel like I'm valued here. I feel like I'm giving my energy and I'm not having like an equal exchange back. So it's not actually worth it to me. So this is the time to reevaluate. This is very important. If you don't want to feel like, here's the thing, right? You get to do whatever you want. This reading is going to resonate with you if you're at a point where you're like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. And you're trying to figure out what exactly it is that has you feeling kind of pushed down and weighed down and heavy and almost like something just isn't sitting well with you. Like you don't feel completely at peace. You don't feel like there's a complete harmony and bliss. And there may have been something where there were signs telling you, hey, this is the thing that it is. But you could have not been at a point when those messages came through where you were ready to hear it. And so it kind of got pushed down. And so now it's taking a bit for it to come back up for you to realize what it was back there, essentially. Because at the time when it was brought up to you, you may have been like, oh, that's definitely not something that I'm willing to address here. And it could have been like in a moment, just sunk down. So this is having it all come back up. And so it's going to take the amount of time that it's going to take for all of this to come back up. And now we're at a point where the way that you can start doing this, like the grounded steps that you can begin taking, is asking yourself every moment before you do something, is what I get back from this allowing me to feel valued. When I participate in this, do I feel like I get an interaction that's worth it to me? Because what I'm seeing is that you may be right now investing in something that actually conflicts with your values. But there can be a part of you that's like, I still don't want to see it, but you're feeling it. So even if you're not acknowledging it, you're basically like suffering the consequences of this thing that's actually out of alignment. And also too, just like a simple indicator too that can be helpful of like what's worth it to you and what's not. When you're investing in things that are aligned with your values, you feel seen, you feel appreciated, you feel like you're recognized, you feel like a symbiosis, essentially. It's like a mutually beneficial relationship with yourself and what you're interacting with closely within your sphere, essentially. But this means also that if you're not feeling those things, if something is not aligned, if you're like, this really isn't worth it to me, like, why am I spending my time doing this? It means that there may be things within your life right now that you're taking on that conflict with your values and what you see as being true reciprocity. You're going to have to start turning things down. This is where no comes into play. That doesn't resonate with me. If it conflicts with my values, that doesn't resonate with me. And this doesn't just have to be interactions that you're paid for, right? Like the work thing was just an example. This can be a relationship that you have where you're like, I'm showing up like this and the way that you're treating me is not aligned with my standards. And so I'm recognizing that even though it's hard to maybe pull away from this or change the dynamic of this relationship, it's no longer resonating with me in the way that it's playing out currently. So you just want to be constantly checking in. This is how this is going to be resolved. It's anything that feels like it's limiting you as well. Yeah, Ace of Swords. I'm seeing a lot coming to the front now. This definitely feels like a breakthrough as well. A very important one. Yeah. This is the realization. Now, just know that this is a step. This is not the finished product of what's going on. This was just getting to the point of becoming cognizant of something. What I'm seeing is that now there is a realization of, oh, I was giving my power away to that for whatever reason. And with the devil here too, it could have been something that you felt like you needed this thing and so you were compromising your values, but in reality you don't. But it takes unlearning and some more understanding and remembering to move to this place of realization. Because it could have been something that was even normalized for you and you're like, everybody's saying it's normal, but why am I feeling this way? Like something I don't feel at peace with, and now there is something coming to light for you that feels very important. For some of you, it has to do with your commitments. For many of you, this has to do with your relationships. But remember, relationships, it can be like somebody you're dating, somebody you're married to, a sibling relationship, a parent relationship. It can be a relationship with a boss, with a coworker, with work in general. It's just like relationships all together. this is progress for sure. All right, my friends, we are going to leave this reading here. I would like to thank everybody for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm wishing everybody love and light and healing, and I hope to catch you guys next time.